Good morning, Los Angeles, and welcome to the first day of November. It is Tuesday, November 1st, 2011. Welcome to the John Ferraro Council Chambers, room 340 of City Hall, where we meet every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday at 10 a.m. I want to thank those members of the council who are here on time. Council members Cardenas, Labange, Perry, Mr. Reyes, Mr. Wesson, Mr. Zine, and that takes with myself up to 7 members. We do have 1 vacancy on the council. Remember, next Tuesday is an election in Council District 15, a week from today, so don't forget to go out and vote if you live there. But that takes us down to 14 members, and we require 10 members or 2/3 of our usually 15-member strong body to begin our meeting. So if council members Alarcon, Englander, Huizar, Koretz, Krikorian, and Parks will please join us as soon as possible so we can begin the meeting. Mr. Rosendahl is excused today on city business. Want to thank those members of the public as well who have taken time out of their day to join us here in council chambers, as well as those who are in our remote council chambers in Van Nuys and San Pedro, where you can testify remotely or just watch the meetings from those locations, and also our viewers on Channel 35 throughout the city's cable system, which broadcasts these meetings live, and also on the internet at lacity.org, where you can catch live streaming webcasts of our council meetings and archived footage of any of our past council meetings. Also online at our city's homepage and our council website is all of our agendas, our meeting schedule, and also any of the supporting materials for items that we consider here in chambers. So the reports that we get are available as well for the public convenience, so you can be just as informed as your elected representatives. We finally, if you're not close to a computer or a television, can't make it to San Pedro, Van Nuys, or downtown, you can always use your telephone and call in to the following number and listen to our council meetings. That's 213-621-CITY, 213-621-CITY, called Council Phone, and you can listen in to not just our full council, but any of our council committee meetings as well. Our agenda today is split into items that have already had public hearings in committee and those for which public hearings have not yet been held. If you'd like to be heard on any items, please fill out a speaker card here or in Van Nuys and San Pedro. If an item has already had a public hearing, it requires the council to reopen the hearing. Otherwise, the committee hearing will satisfy the requirements. Any item, though, that has not yet had a hearing, a card from the public will automatically trigger the hearing, and we would be happy to hear your public input, as well as for general public comment, which is for items that are not on the agenda, but nevertheless under the jurisdiction of the city. Just fill out a card in the back, put public comment on the upper right corner, and we'd be happy to hear your comments. Each speaker gets 2 minutes, and we have a podium here to help you guide your time. And there's a code of conduct to keep decorum of the meeting as well. I want to thank council members Cardenas, Englander, Labange, Perry, Reyes, Wesson, and Zine who are here. I also want to congratulate Ensign Peter Sanders, who is our newest member of the United States Navy, just sworn in upstairs. Congratulations on joining the United States Navy, and we appreciate your service to the country. We are awaiting 2 other members to constitute a quorum. And Mr. Sanders, if you'd be kind enough to hang around, we do each Tuesday do a Pledge of Allegiance, and if you'd lead us in it in a few minutes, we'd be honored to have you do that as well. Mr. Labange.
So before we get started, can we have a nice John Ferraro City Council Chambers welcome to our guests, Michael Trumpa and his wife Sabine from our sister city of Berlin. He's a Berlin city firefighter.
Wonderful to have you here. Welcome. And thank you, Mr. Labange, for your great leadership of our sister city associations and groups for all, how many is it, 25? 25 sister cities around the world, more than any other American city. We do have 10 members now, so Madam Clerk, if you'll please call the roll, we'll begin the meeting.
Alarcon, Cardenas, Englander, Huizar, Koretz, Krikorian, Labange, Parks, Perry, Reyes, Rosendahl, Weston, Zine, Garcetti, 10 members present and a quorum, Mr. President.
All right, first order of business, please.
Approval of the minutes.
Mr. Zine moves and Mr. Reyes seconds. Without objection, those minutes will be approved from the last meeting. Next order of business.
Commendatory resolutions for approval.
All right, Mr. Huizar moves and Mr. Englander seconds. Without objection, those will be approved as well. Mr. Sanders, if I can invite you up to the podium, and if I can ask everybody to please rise for our salute to the flag, which we do on Tuesdays, for our Pledge of Allegiance. And although he's not in uniform, I'd like to thank our ensign for leading us in the pledge.
Thank you, Council President. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. We'll run through today's agenda next, so colleagues, if there's items you wish to call special on today's agenda, please direct your attention to the items before us. First items, please.
Items 1 through 12 are Department of Building and Safety liens. The department reports that item 5 may be received and filed as much as a lien has been paid.
Okay, we'll move to receive and file 5. Anybody wishing to call any of those special, or do we have cards on any of those, Madam Clerk?
No cards.
Okay, we'll close the public hearings. Let's go ahead and open the roll on those. Close the roll and tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Those are approved. Next items, please.
Items 13 and 14 are public convenience or necessity items in Council District 2.
Okay, we're still waiting, Mr. Krikorian, so let's hold those on the desk since those require a motion. So we'll need to know what his wishes are for both of those on 13 and 14. Next item, please.
Excuse me, Mr. President. For 13 and 14, no motion is required. The recommendation is to grant the applications.
Okay, all right. Recommendation is grant. Would you like us to hold those, or would Council District 2 like us to take them up now? We can do them right now? Okay. Nobody wishes to call those special, and there are no cards. We'll go ahead and open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Okay, those are approved. Next item, please.
There's request to continue item 15 to January 17th, 2012.
Okay, is there any objection to continuing item number 15 until January 17th of 2012? If not, let's go ahead and continue item 15. Next item, please.
Items 16 through 26 are items for which public hearings have been held. For item 26, a motion is required. Would you wish to hold that on the desk?
Yes, let's go ahead and hold 26 on the desk for now, unless there's a motion, Mr. Kretz. You want to hold it for now?
No, I'm fine.
It requires a motion one way or the other, so we'll either hold it on the desk or it requires a motion.
Which one are you on?
That was just on item 26 in particular.
Yeah, I'd like to call item 26 special.
Okay, you got it. Other specials, colleagues, items 16 through 26.
Number 18.
Number 18, Mr. Parks.
Let's see if we can find that other.
There are no other specials. Let's go ahead and open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Okay, that is approved. Next items, please.
Items 27 through 35 are items for which public hearings have not been held. 10 votes required for consideration. Item 27 is a commission appointment. Do you wish to hold that on the desk?
Yes, please. We'll hold the commission appointment on the desk, and we'll take that out of order for Mr. Schaefer as soon as we are done with going through the agenda. Any other cards that we have on any of these items?
Cards on items 30 and 32.
Okay. We'll close the other public hearings. Mr. Weezer?
Number 34 special, please.
You got it. Mr. Weezer, number 34. And Mr. Parks?
31 for CD 11.
Sorry, I couldn't quite hear you.
31 for CD 11.
Thank you. 31. Okay. Any other special colleagues? That leaves us with 28 and 29, 33 and 35. If there are no specials on those, let us go ahead and open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Those are approved. Next items, please.
Item 36 is a closed session item. Do you wish to hold that on the desk?
Yes, please. And colleagues, because of time requirements, item 36 we're going to take after the commission appointee, and just before public comment, we're going to go into, well, maybe just after public comment, depending on the number of cards, but we will be going into executive chambers so as to not require the public to leave here, but we'll take that out of order at the outset of the meeting. Next items, please.
On the continuation agenda, item 37 is an ordinance notice for public hearing.
Okay. Do we have cards on item 37?
Yes, there's cards.
Okay, we'll call that special for cards on the public. Next item, please.
Items 38 and 39 are items for which public hearings have been held.
All right. Colleagues, anybody wishing to call items 38 or 39 special? Mr. Reyes, which one? Both? Yes. Okay. Mr. Reyes calls them both special. Next items, please.
Items 40 through 52 are items for which public hearings have not been held. 10 votes required for consideration.
Okay, if there's no objection, those are before us. We have a card on item 48. We'll go ahead and close the other public hearings. Anybody wishing to call any of these items special? Seeing none, let's go ahead and open the roll on the balance.
Excuse me, Mr. President,
sorry.
we have cards on item 48.
Yeah, I called it special for that one. So the other ones, close the public hearing, go ahead on the balance, and please prepare the roll and tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Okay, those are approved. We'll go ahead and take our commission appointment out of order. Mr. Schaefer, you'd like to come forward to the center table. Thank you for your service to the people of Los Angeles and appreciate your willingness to serve. I'd like to recognize for opening remarks Mr. Reyes, Mr. Krikorian, for, I believe this went through your committee, Mr. Krikorian, is that correct? For the Board of Neighborhood Commissioners.
Well, members, I'm very pleased to present Leonard Schaefer as the mayor's appointee to the Board of Neighborhood Commissioners. Mr. Schaefer has a long record of service as one of the leaders of the Los Angeles Alliance of Neighborhood Councils and has served his own neighborhood council with great distinction, and I'm pleased to present him to you and ask you for your support.
Thank you. Mr. Zine.
Len Schaefer. Thank you, Mr. Krikorian, for those good comments about a former deputy district attorney. I think you worked with our council president's dad in the DA's office, and a member of the Tarzana community who's very involved in the neighborhood council, the property owners association. You've been there since I've been around for 10 years representing that district, and very involved, very focused, very genuine, very committed, very concerned. And any time we're doing something in Tarzana, Len Schaefer and his wife, you are always there with your wife for the community. That's a unique community in that there's great community participation. Your involvement from the neighborhood councils when they first began to this appointment by the mayor brings you to a level of more influence, more prominence in the neighborhood councils as the commissioner. But I just want to compliment you, Len. I know we tease each other. You come to many events. You're there. You're always there. You're just such a powerful voice of concern and commitment to maintain the image, reputation of Tarzana and to keep it moving forward. The community center that was built, the activities that you've spent at that location. I mean, you retired from being a deputy district attorney, but continued your love and commitment to the community. Basically, you've got a full-time job as a volunteer in the community without any compensation. You just do it out of love of the community. So I want to offer my congratulations, and I know you do well in that endeavor. You are going to be very influential since you were involved when the neighborhood councils first came about, and you've been continuing as a member of the community who's got a broader focus, and I think this commission is very appropriate for you since you've seen it from the beginning to the time of the maturity of the neighborhood council. So Commissioner Len Schaefer, it has a good ring to it, and I know you'll do extremely well with that. So my congratulations, and I'm sure my colleagues will all vote to support you as a former prosecutor, a strong commitment for this city, and a strong commitment for Tarzana. So, Len, good wishes in your continued success. And I see Fred Gaines over there smiling, our councilman from Calabasas, who represents a lot of people who's smiling because he represents a lot of activities in Tarzana. So, good wishes for you in this new endeavor as a commissioner. Even Fred gave you a thumbs up, so that's good. Thank you, Len.
Thank you very much, Mr. Zine. And thank you as well, Leonard, for your great, incredible service to not just the folks of Tarzana and the San Fernando Valley, but all of Los Angeles. We're very lucky to have you on board, and I am confident this will be a unanimous vote, given your record and your involvement and who you are. So thank you, Mr. Zine, for your kind words, and thank you to the mayor for a great nomination. And would you like to say anything now that we've all talked?
Just thank you all for the kind comments, and I hope I can live up to them.
You will. We're confident. So with that, let's go ahead and make this official. Please open the roll, Madam Clerk. Close the roll and tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Congratulations, Commissioner. Round of applause for our Commissioner. Thank you. Thank you. We have a request on item 34, Mr. Huizar. Take that out of order. I know we have a reward motion. We'll take that next.
Thank you, Mr. President. And item 34 is asking for an extension of or reinstatement of a reward motion for $50,000 for anyone that can provide information leading to the arrest and conviction of the person or persons responsible for the death of Carlos Perez. On March 29, 2010, shortly after 3 a.m., 59-year-old Carlos Perez was struck by a vehicle while attempting to cross Alameda Street near Hunter Street in the produce area of downtown. Mr. Perez suffered multiple blunt force injuries and was later pronounced dead on the scene. Evidence recovered from the scene revealed that the hit-and-run vehicle was a dark-colored 2005 or 2006 Infiniti G35 four-door sedan. In April, we offered a reward, but to date have not received any information. We are renewing this reward motion so that hopefully someone who watches this or someone who is out there that could provide any information to our LAPD, we will get the persons responsible for Mr. Perez's death. The family is here. As you goes without saying, they are grieving. They are looking for answers. They want justice. And hopefully through this reward, we will entice some people to step forward and provide the information necessary so that we could get some answers for the grieving family. I am joined today by Officer Felix Padilla, who will also share a few words.
Excuse me, before we start that, if I could just ask for everybody's on both sides of the rope, if they could please halt their conversations for this item. We have a family here that is grieving, and please show them their respect. Thank you. Please.
Good morning. I'm Detective Felix Padilla. I'm assigned to Central Traffic Division, and I have with me the Perez family. They're here on behalf of their father, their son, their husband, Carlos Perez. He's affectionately known as Charlie to them. And he was on his way to work in the early morning of March 29th, 3 o'clock in the morning, when he was struck and killed by a hit-and-run driver. At that time when we had the first reward offer, we had some leads that came in. The leads led to a dead end, and since that time the family's been working with me. They haven't given up hope. They have faith in the Los Angeles Police Department, and I'm asking for the support of the council to reinstate this reward offer so that we can continue seeking the assistance from the public and seeing if somebody can come forward. Anyone with information can call me directly at 213-972-1851 or the LAPD hotline 1-877 LAPD 24/7. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Perez's daughter, Monique, will also share a few words.
Good morning, City Councilmen and members of the Council. I'm here today with my family present to ask the Los Angeles City Councilmen to consider offering a reward, again, for any information that will lead to the finding of my person responsible for the death of my father. As you may know, his death was due to a fatal hit-and-run tragedy on March 29th. The person who hit my father left the scene without returning to aid him or call for help. They just left him. My family and I would like justice and resolve in this matter. My father, Charlie, was kind-hearted and did everything he could to protect and care for his family. He loved his family, but it was his grandchildren he adored more than anything in the world. My father is no longer with us today to continue lifelong memories and so much more. He is missed by everyone and cannot be forgotten, which is why we continue to bring awareness to a life that was taken away from us. Our only hope is that you can help us continue to remember my father and bring justice to his death. Thank you for your time and consideration for this matter.
I would really like to thank everybody for what they had done, the detectives and everybody else. Kind of speech is kind of hard. I just would like to have the reward again, and my family again. Also, we all got together and put flyers out, and we also want to do that again. And I just want to say thank you.
This was Mr. Perez's wife, and again, the incident happened March 29, 2010, shortly after 3 a.m. near the streets of Alameda and Hunter, near the Protos area of downtown. Anyone who has information, they did see a 2005 or 2006 Infiniti G35 four-door sedan in the area soon after the incident. So anyone who has information, please do call LAPD. They can be reached at
877 LAPD 24/7 is our the hotline, and my direct number is 213-972-1851. 1851.
Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Thank you, and our deepest condolences. Thank you to the family for being here very much. We will take a vote on this reward motion. Madam Clerk, if you please open the roll. Please close the roll and tabulate the vote.
13 eyes.
As approved. We're going to send that forthwith to the mayor for a signature, and we'll get that out on the street. Thank you again for being here. Okay, we'll go to our general public comment next, and then we'll go to the back after that for our closed session item. Alex Schaefer is our first speaker. After Alex Schaefer will be Donna Pearman and Van Nuys.
Greetings, City Council. Never done this before. My name is Alex Schaefer. So I guess, but you guys have never had 500 people camped out on your lawn before, so it's kind of a season of unprecedented things going on in the city. My comments are kind of in two parts. The first one, I guess, would be Occupy Wall Street, and then Occupy LA happened. It's kind of like Occupy Wall Street's crazy Burning Man uncle or something like that. And but the thing I'm wondering is it's not a permanent event, and it's operating as if it's an event, but it's tacitly approved by the city, I guess. The police aren't doing anything about it. And so I'm just kind of wondering what's going on with all that, why it's going on, why in certain areas they are, I mean, it is operating, I mean, what it is, because there is no permit, it's just a giant sort of a free speech free-for-all that you guys are letting go on. And yet there are people who their speech is being limited. And so I'm kind of wondering what is the thought process behind you guys letting this go on and on and on, become feral or what have you. The second part of my comment is I'm starting to believe that Occupy New York is a bit of a straw man for Los Angeles. The people of LA do not need to be looking to New York City for fraud, corruption, criminality in city government. They can be looking right here in Los Angeles. So hopefully the Occupy LA thing will not be forcibly removed. Hopefully they will peacefully leave.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Donna Pearman is our next speaker. And she's in Van Nuys. Good morning.
Good morning. Anyway, first of all, hello, Mr. Garcetti. Anyway, I want to tell the people, please don't sign the thing on the death penalty, because we don't need to have these, everybody's on death row to have their sentences commuted to life without parole. Anyway, the one thing that Occupy LA is right about, it's the large corporations get too many tax breaks. Eliminating tax breaks, they getting rid of the business tax. Large corporations like Whirlpool takes $177 million but lays off thousands. Doesn't make sense. How do you know that eliminating business tax, corporations will use it to have more people have more people employed, or make employees' lives better, or go toward their good, or reward their good work? It will just line their pockets. That's all it's going to do on the a lot of that business taxes. Homeowners have to pay. Taxpayers have to pay. It's not right to have the homeowners pay the whole cost of the sidewalk repair, so the homeless who will camp on the streets will have the streets fine, and it won't sue if they trip and fall. Those trees were there before the homeowners were there. What if the house is rented? Who pays for those trees in that street if the owner is never there? Make a deal with a homeowner, help pay a portion. The city pays a portion. And if you'd have help businesses with have no business tax, you can pay the lion's share for the sidewalk. And so Yeah, so I don't think that it's and you. Yes, I wanted to say that I'm worried that you're going to try to change Proposition 13, and we don't want to change Proposition 13. People are already having a hard enough time living in the houses as it is. We have too many foreclosures as it is, so we need to keep Proposition 13. Matter of fact, and even extend
Thank you,
it.
Donna. Our next speaker is also in Van Nuys, Elizabeth Saldivar. Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning, Council, and good morning, President. I live in District 3, and I am here to bring some important concerns in regards to housing that's being subsidized by the City of Los Angeles. I live in a low-income housing multifamily development, where the regulatory agreement for the loan that was given by the city with taxpayers' money to make this development has a lot of violations from financial, from reporting, from all kinds of violations. The main violation that I'm here to report is that in those complexes, there is a disabled child that grew up in discrimination, a disabled person that has not been provided with disability access, and a unit that has been found to be contaminated with mold. And I'm asking for the City Council to consider removing this specific person from this unit while the construction and remediation repairs are being made. I have gone to the departments, to the department chairs, and they have not listened. And the city has an obligation to oversee and enforce the codes that are applicable to each and specific tenant within the unit. You'll be seeing a lot of me, like a lot of these ladies, and I can see why they are here. And in my other presentations, I will be speaking in Spanish because it's a concern that it concerns a lot of us. And I will be presenting you my story little by little, minute by minute, so that the message gets across. My name is Elizabeth.
Thank you. Appreciate your comments. Everything is translated as well, available on simulcast, both in English and Spanish, for all of our listeners, both online and on television. Our next speaker is here in Council Chambers. Richard Eastman is our next speaker. After that will be Daniel Gus, also here in Council Chambers. Good morning.
Councilman Garcetti, President Garcetti, Council. Richard Eastman, person with AIDS, former candidate for City Council 7 years ago for secession, occupying Los Angeles. On November 5th and 6th, Dennis Perrone, Kim Quiggle, and Richard Eastman are going to celebrate the 15th anniversary of medical marijuana on the steps of City Hall. At 2:15, we will gather with 100, 1,000, 10,000, emerging all the medical marijuana patients in Los Angeles to come down on November 5th and 6th to celebrate 15 years of compassionate use of medical marijuana in the great state of California and the 16 states, including the District of Columbia. I know you're sort of chuckling, Garcetti. You're running for mayor. I'm running for city council in 2013 for your seat. And 8,000 people voted for me, and about 500,000 medical marijuana patients live in Los Angeles. And I've been occupying Los Angeles since 1976. And I was horrified when the mayor said that we cannot be there indefinitely. Medical marijuana is here indefinitely. The occupiers will be here until their message is heard across the country. On 2:15, we're going to rally and march to the Federal Building. At 3 o'clock, we're going to have speakers, entertainers. At 4:20, we're going to have free medicine. First come, first served. At 6 p.m., we're going to feed all the people that come on November 5th and 6th. Richard Eastman, a person with AIDS, Dennis Perrone, the leader of medical marijuana, urges everyone in Los Angeles to continue to support safe access to medical marijuana. And in 2013, when I run for city council for the 13th council district, those 8,000 people that voted for me 7 years ago, I'm asking you to vote again. And then we will have a real occupier on the city council, not a bunch of people that argue and wear ties and waste our city money. And vote President Obama 2012. Thank you, the citizens of Los Angeles.
Thank you, Mr. Eastman. Packed in a lot in that 1 2-minute conversation. Thank you. Mr. Gus is our next speaker. After that will be Dr. Williams, Dr. Tom Williams. Good morning.
Last week, Animal Services Commissioner Ruth Ann Secunda was convicted, Mr. Krikorian and Mr. Koretz, Animal Services Commissioner Ruth Ann Secunda was convicted of violating the city's animal licensing law. She felt that those animal licensing fees apply to people like us, the little people on Channel 35, but not to her. Last week, Animal Services Commissioner Ruth Ann Secunda was convicted of violating the city's dog leash laws. She thought that the laws applied to us, but not to her. When she was cited at Venice Beach for both of these violations, she did the "do you know who I am" thing to the Animal Services officer. When that didn't work, Commissioner Secunda picked up the phone and called GM Brenda Barnett to have her make the officer go away. So here's a commissioner who doesn't attend the commission meeting. She's got the worst attendance record of all the commissioners. She doesn't think the leash laws apply to her. She doesn't think she owes the city the revenue for animal licensing. Why is this person on the Animal Services Commissioner, as vice president, no less? The reason I'm here today is because Animal Services ignored my public information request. I wrote to Matt Szabo about this, no response. I wrote to Jim Bickhart about this, no response. So now I'm forced to come here, take 2 minutes out of your day to let you know that you have an Animal Services Commissioner, Ruth Ann Secunda, who believes the laws apply to the people on Channel 35 and you and me, but not to her. While this is going on, you have a commission of one animal advocate, Kathy Reardon, and one talent agent, and another talent agent, and an attorney, and another attorney. And while this is going on, the kill rate at Animal Services has gone up 11% during the time Brenda Barnett is here, because you have a rubber-stamping Animal Services Commissioner who doesn't think the laws apply to them, who doesn't do what they're supposed to do and run the department. Please call in Brenda Barnett. Please call in the officer. Please call in Commissioner Secunda and replace her with somebody who actually wants to be an Animal Services Commissioner. I have those notes here.
You can hand that to Sergeant at Arms.
Thank you very much.
Take that. No problem. Dr. Tom Williams is our next speaker. After that, we'll go to Van Nuys. Sharon Brewer will follow him. Thank you. Just to your right. There you go. Good morning, Dr. Williams.
Good morning. Dr. Tom Williams, LA 32 Neighborhood Council. And we really oppose appointing Lynn to the bunk. We need him on the other side of the table. Basic issue. One of the bunk issues that's coming up is local purchase by neighborhood councils. In general, we already do local purchases commonly within our neighborhood council areas. But the city now wants us to make sure that we spend our money in LA City. However, this afternoon there's going to be a consideration of local purchases by the Department of Water and Power, which probably has about 100 times our budget, 1,000 times our budget. And their concept of local is LA County. But this is a city department. Why is the rules being applied to one department different from those applied to the other departments? Can't we have X number of percentage, X number of value purchased within the city of Los Angeles by the Department of Water and Power and Department of Public Works? Equal enforcement of the law. If we have to do it at neighborhood councils with only $4 million, doesn't DWP have to do it with $4 billion? Thank you.
Thank you. Sharon Brewer in Van Nuys is our next speaker. After that will be Cheryl Eichley here in council chambers again. Good morning, Ms. Brewer.
Good morning. Sharon Brewer, public comment. Regarding Occupy LA's justification for takeover around City Hall, using the First Amendment, the right of freedom of speech and peaceful assembly, breaking the law is not a First Amendment right, which means violating the LAMC Code 63.44 regulations affecting park and recreation areas 63.44D within the limits of any park other than beaches. No person shall camp or lodge except in locations designated for such purposes. 63.44B. No person shall enter, remain, stay, or loiter in any park between the hours of 10:30 p.m. to 5 a.m. of the following day. I have a problem with any council members or who have been employed or volunteers in a city department where they have sworn to uphold the law and then they allow the law to be broken. Can't have selective enforcement. It's time for Occupy LA to be given notice, 48 hours, 72 hours, whatever, to leave or be arrested for violating those LAMC codes that I referred to. Channel 2 report on General Services Supervisor purchasing liquor during work hours, using city vehicle for private errands. When caught, consequences is seek medical treatment. If a city employee is caught using a city vehicle for personal use, especially purchasing liquor, transporting non-city people, etc., they should be fired. Employee violates city policy or law, you're fired. No discussion. On this October 7th, I spoke about a couch at Van Nuys and Etna. Guess what? The couch is still there. Told CD6 about it. I had a card in to speak on number 27, and I was here on Friday. And basically, because you didn't have a quorum, we should be allowed 2 public comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Cheryl Eichley is our next speaker here in council chambers. After that will be Mr. Zuma Dog.
Hi, my name is Cheryl Eichley, and I'm wondering, do rights expire? I'm a resident of Los Angeles and District 4, and I'm a member of Occupy Los Angeles. I'm speaking on my behalf because any decision that the group makes is through consensus at our General Assemblies. And I'm here to ask city officials to stand by their oath to protect the Constitution and the rights it affords us, and to stand by the resolution you all passed called First Amendment Rights Occupy Los Angeles. I realize time is an issue. Correct me if I'm wrong, but as far as I know, our constitutional rights have no expiration date on them. Our founding fathers did not add a provision to the Constitution that requires us to only exercise our rights for a few hours, a few days, a few months, a few years, or even a few decades. One of my favorite provisions in the Constitution of the United States can be found within the First Amendment, the right to petition our government for redress of grievances. To redress means to set right, remedy, or rectify. We are here to rectify and remedy our grievances. And our grievances, the list of grievances is long and justified. Grievances are any real or imagined wrongs or other causes for complaint or protest, especially unfair treatment. I think we can all agree that we've all been mistreated. I myself have a long list of grievances of my own, much like many of the occupiers, concerned citizens, and even civic servants such as all of you. I graduated 2 years ago from UCLA. I am up to my eyeballs in debt. I cannot find a good enough paying job in this economy. I can't afford a home, and I have no health insurance. And when I did, it did not serve to take care of my health. Again, I realize time is an issue. We didn't get into this epic mess overnight. We didn't get into this mess over a few weeks either. Because of our inactions, we have allowed these injustices to occur far too long. Thank you.
Thank you. Zuma Dog is our next speaker. After that will be Matt Ward. Good morning.
Yes, good morning, everybody. I'm here to address a serious issue, and this is not about the message or the politics or the people of Occupy LA, the movement that's outside a municipal issue. Now, I came here on Friday, and I heard that there was a free speech, a big party here at the LA City Hall on the lawn, public park, open space. So I brought my amplifier to express my free speech message. What happened was I was quickly surrounded by an out-of-control mob of which I was pushed, poked, shoved, threatened, harassed, blocked, impinged. My cord was stolen of my power of my amplifier. I was prevented from expressing myself at the open park space at City Hall. Why? Because you have allowed an unruly mob to take control and seize the public space at City Hall. Everybody here in this horseshoe knows at this point it's an organization requiring a special event permit. So after I was threatened and was forced to endure more than any U.S. person in America would be forced to express themselves, I'm here to say you have a big lawsuit on your hands because I was pushed, shoved, poked, threatened, blocked, impinged. My property was pulled and tampered with. And where was the police? You allow 1,000 people to go out on the City Hall lawn, an unruly mob, and not a police in sight. Did the mayor tell the police to stay away? And then so when I'm getting attacked, and the video is at LACityNews.com. The video at LACityNews.com. And Carmen Tutanich needs to look at that video because you got City Hall cameras monitoring. Where were the police when I was surrounded and attacked and physically impinged? Why did the police not come out? We are letting the Brian Stowe part 2. Hey, it's only Zuma Dog. Let the crowd beat him to death. We don't have to deal with him anymore. There's a reason the FBI is investigating individual council members, and you better be careful. Do not go along with the crimes that the other council members do in this horseshoe. It'll get to the FBI crawling all up your ass.
Thank you, Mr. Dog. Matt Ward is our next speaker. After that is Matt Dowd.
Hi, guys. My name is Matt Ward. I'd like to start by thanking the gentleman before me for his wonderful and self-interested comments. They were perfect at making the point that this is way bigger than us and that we're all in this together. I would ask that everybody pay attention. This is your job. I'm glad to see that Director Rosenthal is not here to fall asleep in his seat, but that doesn't mean that you all can. Thank you. I'm here not to talk about whether we're allowed to be here or not, because frankly, that's out of your guys' hands and mine as well. We're not going anywhere, and that's how it is. If you'd like to strike us down, I'll quote some Obi-Wan for you, but I have to tell you, there are plans for what happens, and frankly, you guys will wish to heck that you could roll it back to this moment if and when that happens. Just letting you all know now so it can be on camera, and well, we'll see how it plays out. This is really about the banks. We re-raised and we're discussing the Responsible Banking Act in this room, and it was tabled and thrown back into back sessions. Now, I know what that means. I'm not an idiot. What we need to do is raise that back up and keep talking about it. The banks have threatened you guys with $58 million in termination contracts. That amounts to this city being held hostage. That is $6 billion of annual money that goes into those banks. Those banks should be thirsty for that money. They should be desperate for that money, and they should be paying us to house that money. The notion that long-standing, long-term contracts can overrule the decision that every 3 years we must re-vote on which banks hold our money is a farce. The banks do not want that lawsuit. They do not want you to fight that precedent. If you continue to allow your backroom handlers to tell you how to handle this situation, you are going to find yourselves behind the ball. You either ride this wave or this wave rides you. Thank you.
Matt Dowd, our next speaker. 2 minutes, public comment. Matt Dowd.
All right, thank you. Yes, Matt Dowd. If you haven't seen me before, 5 years we've been coming here. It's so amusing watching people come in here for the first couple of times thinking they're going to change you guys. So here's something I want to hand out for Herb Weston. He's on a committee. Here's if the officer can give this to Herb Weston, because you know we're let me hand that out. Let me talk about global banking. Because I talked about it here for 4 or 5 years. That's going to Herb Weston. Thank you. He's on a committee for Venice Beach. 5 years we were here with Jose Aguilar. We're talking about the subprime meltdown, Lehman Brothers collapse, all of these things. And then whoever elected Obama, if you elected Obama, then you're to blame. Because he funded the banks, and they were meant to bail out the people. But what they did is they conducted a carry trade, it's called, where they buy stocks. Because they're making more money with that than with the free money they're getting from the government. So they bought all this stuff, and everything's just bubbled up now. And Greece, everyone's getting held hostage to Greece because they want to vote on whether to accept a bailout when they're broke, for God's sake. Italy owes $2 trillion. It's the tip of the iceberg right now. Look at the stock market if you don't believe me. So you're all too late. It's too late. We warned you here in 1996, 97, 98, 99, 2010, 11. I'm going out of my mind because we've been here so many times. I'm going crazy. You're trying to cheat us out of our lost income at the beach. It's all bad. These Occupy people, you're getting on the Titanic, you fools. You're boarding the Titanic right here.
And we
Ronan Brown. Ronan Brown.
Thank you. Good morning.
Go ahead, sir.
I'm here just to ask you to pay attention to what's going on here. We were here for another agenda that we are not allowed to speak anymore because there is dirty politics going around here. Now, if you pay attention to what's going on outside, it will come from other part of the population if you're not going to start to pay attention for what's going on. Mr. Koretz, you're doing something wrong, and you should let us know what you are planning to do, not after you do it, before. Thank you.
Alejandro Brown. 2 minutes, public comment.
Good morning. I came here this morning to express my opposition to Mr. Koretz's overlay motion for the Beverly Grove area. However, I was denied that right because the council voted on it without time for public comments. We were not informed of a hearing at the Plum Committee, so we could not express our opposition there. So, I'm using this time to tell you the truth about this overlay motion. The majority of stakeholders in the affected area are against this overlay motion. We do not want to be separated from the current Los Angeles regulation. This motion is unwanted and unneeded. I wanted to urge you to do the due diligence that stakeholders deserve and withhold on voting on this until you review all the facts. We have discovered several irregularities with the survey done by Mr. Koretz's office to justify this motion, and we can prove to you that the survey is not truly representative of what the majority of the neighborhood wants. Out of 697 stakeholders affected, we already have 303 signatures against it, with more coming every day. I wanted to appeal today to your highest values and principles to truly serve the public best interests, and to request that you defer your vote on this issue until you have the chance to review the information that the Beverly Grove Homeowners Association, represented the 5 affected streets, was going to present to you today. But you passed this motion without further review, and you have committed a great injustice and betrayal of public trust. And such betrayal and injustice will not be forgotten. You will be remembered as the councilman or woman who completely disregarded the public best interest and will.
Daniel Kim. 2 minutes, public comment. Mr. Kim.
We live in a system that is not working. We live in a system that depends on attacking innocent countries, dropping bombs on civilians. We live in a system that is destroying our environment in order to grow economically, and it's a system that is not working. This system is led by banks and big corporations, the same system that is holding you hostage for $58 million. Given this, the topic of the conversation must evolve from the childish argument of whether it is lawful for us to occupy, and the discussion should be about to start changing the mess we are living in. It doesn't seem that you guys, it seems that you guys are not getting it, because we have stood out there every day waiting for you guys to come to talk to us about how to change the mess that you have created and you are part of. So if you are not joining us, it means that you guys are against changing the system. So it is time to take a stand. Is it against us or is it with us? We will be out there waiting for you every day. Thank you.
Max Fink. Max. 2 minutes.
Good morning. I just had some useful conversation today with one of the staff members of, let's see, Mr. Perez. Okay, anyways. My interest here is to bring up the idea that those of us who are occupying right now, and maybe it's not all of us, but I belong to a group that wants to see the government succeed in its mandate in meeting the needs and the interests of the people. I think a great way to start is you both agreeing that we don't like to see the amount of influence that banks have over the economy, and we also would like to see that the city and even the state, even the federal government obtain tax revenue more efficiently, and that way we can get to or keep from seeing our governments choked from lack of revenue. So we're going to start working on that. I'm going to be speaking to many of the council members here, attend their offices. Basically, the idea is this, is that banks are investment firms. And according to the law of the free market, you should obtain access to additional capital because you have earned an above average sustainable rate of return. And if you have not earned a sustainable rate of return that is above average, then what are you doing getting access to capital? And so banks are these anomalous investment firms in all of the free market that get that capital because we need a place to store and move our money. And if that's how it works, then why does that not work for the rest of us? So we're just saying that the game of capitalism is written a little unfair right now, but we're going to solve it. So expect me to come by. We're going to discuss some technical solutions that get the capital allocated more efficiently, in our free market, and also get our tax revenues flowing more efficiently without having to raise taxes, and also supporting the business community. Thank you much.
Let's go to the San Fernando Valley. Ankur Patel in Van Nuys. That'll be our final public speaker.
Thank you.
Today.
Zuma Dog was talking about an unruly mob. Come on, guys, that's funny. Zuma Dog talking about an unruly mob. So then I've been out there at Occupy LA. I've spent some nights out there. General Assembly, I've been comparing it to Lord of the Flies meets Animal Farm, right? Some animals are equal, but others are more equal than others. And Lord of the Flies, all hell breaks loose. But the reason why I use those two is they're individuals that come across and have sort of an overthrow of their authority figure. The authority figure kind of leaves. Now, you guys are still that hands-off authority figure to this occupation movement. So the question is, why are so many long-term city activists like Zuma Dog not appreciating Occupy LA? I think there's a lot of reasons for that. That's an interesting question. One of the problems is that these people sleeping outside don't know how LA City works, right? How Los Angeles City works. And we had a couple examples of the Animal Services Commissioner, because she can make a phone call to the right person. She's not, the rules don't apply to her. Dr. Williams talked about the Department of Water and Power has, the Los Angeles County is their local, providing, Dr. Clyde Williams made that point that the rules applying to Department of Water and Power don't apply to neighborhood councils. So that's how the city works, right? And a lot of people are trying to figure that out. Now in Oakland, there's going to be a general strike tomorrow. Right? So city workers, I know there are a lot of you city workers that listen to this, DWP, they're the officers here, and they feed us information. People like myself, Ron Kay gets more information than me. John Walsh even has people in the city that feed him information. So city workers, please pay attention to the general strike. Right? Union bosses, I don't like union bosses. I like union workers. There's a big difference. There's a big difference between union bosses and union workers. And you union workers, you city workers, please pay attention to what's going on in Oakland, how this general strike plays out. Because that is the ace up our ace in the hole, right? If we strike, then capital comes to a halt.
All right, there's one other card here. Offer. I can't read your last name, whatever the last name is, sir.
I'm here to speak about the...
Your name?
My name's Ofer, O-F-E-R, last name Bick, B-I-C-K.
And what's your last name?
Bick, B as in boy, I-C-K.
Okay, go ahead, sir.
I'm here to speak about the RFA portion of the baseline mansionization ordinance. I think that there's a lot of problems with it. It allows an RFA district to be created by 75% of the residents or leaseholders within that district, and yet it also has an option for the council, the city council, to create an RFA district itself. The problem is, for example, with this new Beverly Grove RFA district that's been proposed, is that it's proposing boundaries that are arbitrary and capricious. If you go through the legal law, you'll find that arbitrary and conspicuous is grounds for denial of downzoning of a property, and I think that that's the problem that's occurred with all RFAs so far, including the Studio City RFA, that a lot of the decisions made within it, the boundaries and other issues, are arbitrary and capricious. I think the city will end up paying a lot of money out of as a result of lawsuits that will come from the city approving these RFAs that are being based on arbitrary and capricious reasons, both by the city council and by the planning department. When you read their staff reports, you can find all kinds of evidence of arbitrary and capricious decisions, as well as items that would even be borderline fraud. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
All right, thank you. That will be our final speaker for today. We thank you for that. We're now going to go into closed session on item number 36. So for the convenience of those here in chambers, we're going to let the chambers remain open, and the council members will have the meeting in the executive room. So we will go into closed session now.
Excuse me, Mr. President, I believe there's cards on this item. Do you wish to take public comment on this item first?
Yes.
How many cards do we have? One card. Matt Dowd, number 36. Matt Dowd, number 36. Matt Dowd's not here. Public comment is now closed. We're going to go into closed session. So let's go into closed session. Thank you.
We've never had a traffic accident like this before, where a
a teenager who decided to run from the police and been struck by a motor vehicle.
5859 KF 5060, watch 3. 5060,
Curfew laws restrict the right of juveniles to be outdoors or in the public places after 10 p.m. until sunrise the next day. Such laws aim to establish a safer community and to better protect people from becoming victims of crimes or becoming involved in a crime. Most people don't agree with our curfew laws and would rather run the risk of being picked up by the police and ticketed for violation of curfew. However, they are more likely to run into the many real dangers that face us every time we go out at night.
We have found that kids out so late are normally caught up in violence, traffic accidents, and that's no good. Some of these kids still they're not aware of the law, and they're not educated on it.
Drinking, drugs, sexual predators, and gang-related activities are only few of the dangers we face regardless of how young or old you are. If you are under the age of 18, this law applies to you. What happens if you are caught? You will be taken to the station where the ticket is written out to you and your parent or guardian are called to pick you up. If your parent cannot pick you up, you will be placed into a protective custody or sent to a juvenile facility.
Guardian at something like an event such as Grill Beach.
The guardian is not just someone appointed to by the parents. A guardian is someone appointed by the courts.
You can legally stay out late if you are participating in a religious, educational, or political activity, accompanied by a parent or guardian, going to or from their place of employment, responding to some type of emergency, returning home from school, cultural, or recreation activity.
And that's our message, is not only enforcing the curfew violation, but also educating them that we need to stay home and stay safe.
The curfew laws are not just here to protect us, they're here to protect the safety of everyone in our community.
property theft has spiked in the area the past year due to easy access for thieves. Almost 80% of car theft occurs because of unlocked doors. Locking your doors takes a matter of seconds and can become so routine that you may forget whether you locked your doors or not. But it's worth the effort to double check. The more successful thieves are at taking items out of a car, the more chances they are going to come back to that area. Don't let our town be that area. One simple precaution is to hide or cover any valuable items when leaving your car unattended. Simple actions like these can prevent you from becoming a victim of property theft. The Los Angeles Police Department would like you to remember, lock it or lose it.
investigating a series of bizarre and disturbing attacks that have left children in cities from coast to coast injured and fearing for their safety. As Global's Anna Gebauer tells us, the young victims were targeted simply because of the color of their hair.
Dave Better-Law, we begin with an Eyewitness News exclusive disturbing video of a gay man being beaten in Queens.
The individual was attacked simply for his orientation, and we're just not going to tolerate it.
The word hate is just inexcusable. It's a word that shouldn't be used, and to hate somebody for the color of their skin is just not right.
It creates fear among all of the community members.
I think it's wrong how people discriminate against others just because of the way they prefer people, as in gays or just their skin color. It's wrong, and something needs to be done. A hate crime is any criminal act directed against a person based on the victim's actual or perceived nationality, religion, sexual orientation, disability, gender, and especially race. Examples of hate crimes include acts which result in injury even if the injury is slight, threats of violence that look like they can be carried out, acts which result in property damage, any criminal act or attempted criminal act, including property damage directed against public or private agencies.
The suspect can spend up to 1 year in jail, and if it's a felony, it could either be between 2 and 4 years for a prison sentence.
If you believe a hate crime has occurred or will occur, you are very much encouraged to contact the Los Angeles Police Department or the We Tip hotline. Public cooperation is often essential in solving hate crimes. We Tip hotline, 909-987-5005.
we've never had a traffic accident like this before, where a teenager has decided to run from the police and been struck by a motor vehicle.
5859 Kia 5060, watch 3. 5060,
Curfew laws restrict the right of juveniles to be outdoors or in the public places after 10 p.m. until sunrise the next day. Such laws aim to establish a safer community and to better protect people from becoming victims of crimes or becoming involved in a crime. Most people don't agree with our curfew laws and would rather run the risk of being picked up by the police and ticketed for violation of curfew. However, they are more likely to run into the many real dangers that face us every time we go out at night.
We have found that kids out so late are normally caught up in violence, traffic accidents, and that's no good. Some of these kids still they're not aware of the law, and they're not educated on it.
Drinking, drugs, sexual predators, and gang-related activities are only few of the dangers we face regardless of how young or old you are. If you are under the age of 18, this law applies to you. What happens if you are caught? You will be taken to the station where the ticket is written out to you and your parent or guardian are called to pick you up. If your parent cannot pick you up, you will be placed into a protective custody or sent to a juvenile facility.
Guardian at something like an event such as Grill Week.
The guardian is not just someone appointed to by the parents. A guardian is someone appointed by the courts.
You can legally stay out late if you are participating in a religious, educational, or political activity, accompanied by a parent or guardian, going to or from their place of employment, responding to some type of emergency, returning home from school, cultural, or recreation activity.
And that's our message, is not only enforcing the curfew violation, but also educating them that they need to stay home and stay safe.
The curfew laws are not just here to protect us, they're here to protect the safety of everyone in our community.
We're back in open session here. We took no action requiring any open session action today for item number 36. So if we can return to items called special, please. First item.
Item 18, called special by Mr. Parks, I believe is ready to go forward, Mr. Parks.
Okay. If Mr. Parks' questions have been answered, then let's go ahead and we are awaiting a vote, clerk. You want a double duty, Madam Clerk? All right. Let's go ahead and open the roll on item number 18. You just need 4 arms and you can do it. Close the roll and tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
All right, that is approved. Next item, please.
Yes. Item 26, called special by Councilmember Koretz.
All right, Mr. Koretz, we have item number 26 before us. Recognize Mr. Koretz at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is an item concerning an overheight fence. As a little bit of background, the homeowner moved in next door to a relatively high-profile actor, had some problems with paparazzi coming on their property, hired a builder to build a wall, which they were assured would be fine, and then found themselves in a contentious situation where the neighbor's filing a complaint. This is 245 overruling a zoning administrator. There needs to be findings of error or abuse of discretion. I believe there have been that. I actually went out and looked at the site myself. When I looked at the site, I found that rather than this being a neighborhood that disliked overheight fences, it almost seemed that it was required to have one to live in the neighborhood. From the property, as I drove from the property further down the street, virtually every home had an overheight fence. Now, first, I think the zoning administrator erred in his discretion by not recognizing the existing character and nature of the neighborhood. The city staff acknowledged that numerous over-in-height front yard fences and walls existed in the neighborhood. This was basically ignored. Additionally, signatures of support, which indicate most of the adjoining and abutting property owners support the request, were submitted to the zoning administrator. These were not taken adequately into account. Perhaps most notably, on the location of the wall within the right-of-way, this was cited as a reason for denial. If I recall correctly, the zoning administrator actually indicated he was leaning in favor but had to consider the placement of the wall, then came back with a denial. The appropriateness of the wall's placement is in the purview of Public Works. It is not in the purview of the zoning administrator. So I believe the zoning administrator abused his discretion by basing a planning decision on a Public Works issue, which was not in his purview. Also, a previously approved overheight wall directly across the street was not considered due to its use as a retaining wall instead of it being a privacy wall. However, when dealing with matters of aesthetics and appropriateness, the wall's function really is irrelevant and should not have been used as a factor in denying the request. The zoning administrator erred by placing unequal weight on the idea that a wall's function is the determining factor of the appropriateness of its height, and that one use supersedes another from a planning perspective. The zoning administrator erred by not implementing the suggested mitigation of breaking up the massing of the wall by removing portions of the wall and installing wrought iron fencing, as proposed by the project planner prior to the hearing. Ironically, this is exactly the same mitigation that was a part of the approved overheight wall directly across the street. A few other points. This fence still must be permitted and inspected by the Department of Building and Safety. If it doesn't meet building standards, then the applicant must correct any and all problems with the wall. Also, Public Works must evaluate the appropriateness of the wall's location and issue a revocable permit. And large sections of the existing wall must be removed to reduce the massing and improve neighborhood compatibility as suggested by the project planner. For these reasons, I ask you to adopt the findings and conditions and to vote to approve the appeal for case number ZA 2010-3094-F, thereby allowing the continued use of the wall, and adopt the issuing of a notice of exemption as detailed in the agenda.
Thank you. The City Attorney has informed me, even though this had a public hearing, this requires one here as well. Is that correct, Mr. City Attorney, due to?
Yes, due to the new findings and representations made in Plum.
Okay, so we will go to the public comment cards at this point. Nancy Krupa is our first speaker. After that is Deborah Olson.
And this is a fair hearing matter requiring the heightened attention of the council members to the speaker at the podium or to their monitors at their desks.
Thank you. Good. Come forward, please. Thank you for your patience today. Come forward. We can hear you a little bit better if you come a little closer.
Yes, I brought some handouts that I hope you all have with pictures in them so that you can see the truth of the matter on our street. The wall at 3951 Deervale Drive is very different from all the other walls in the area. It's built right next to the curb, and it's very high. There's no other walls like that in the area. The only other walls in the area that go clear to the curb are retaining walls, and I have 3 pictures here of retaining walls, which you can see are much shorter and quite different. The only privacy walls in the area are also, there's only a very few of them. They're much shorter, and they're set back from the curb, and they have landscaping in front of them. And I have 3 pictures of those, so that if the city approves this wall, which is quite different from others in the area, it will provide a new precedent that will allow similar walls to go up all through the area and completely change the character of our street. Our currently open green streetscapes will gradually disappear with these big walls going up all over the neighborhood. And the second point I want to make is this Great Wall is completely unnecessary. There were many other ways that the owners could have dealt with their complaints. When they moved in, there was a huge hedge along the street that was cut back severely so that they could squeeze the wall between the curb and this hedge that gave them quite a bit of privacy. The celebrity who lives next door doesn't even have a wall. He put in a fence behind his existing hedges that's completely unobtrusive and doesn't intrude on the street at all. If the city approves this wall, I'm afraid that it's going to send a demonstrate that you can build whatever you want without a permit, and if you get caught and cited, then you simply pay whatever it takes to get it approved after the fact, regardless of the merits of the case.
Thank you very much. We appreciate your comments. Deborah Olson is our next speaker. After that is Joe Picker.
Thank you so much, council members. How are you? I'm a good friend of the Pickers, and I've been involved with this from the beginning, and I want to thank Councilmember Koretz for championing this and doing the right thing. It's a beautiful wall. FYI, it's 5'11", not 7 feet tall. Most people in the neighborhood love it, appreciate it, and I'm just here to say I'm in support of us not wasting time and taxpayers' money and your time dealing with such issues. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Joe Picker is our next speaker. Ryan Keek will be next.
We built this fence so we can feel safe in our own home. Our house situated about 1 to 10 feet under the street level. The side of the house is parallel to the street, unlike most other homes that only have the front fence facing the street. Also, we live next to celebrity, right above him. Our home gives excellent observation point to paparazzi and other intruders. We have had constant problems with trespassers and vandalism. Our fence was carefully designed to match the rest of the neighborhood. Our fence enhanced the look of the street. In about a year, much of the wall will be covered with vegetation and flowers. Our lights give light and security to otherwise dark section of the street. Whatever the outcome will be, I want to thank Councilman Paul Koretz for his courageous stand for what is right. Please approve our fence. Thank you We really appreciate your help.
Thank you, sir. Ryan Keek. And then, did I get that right? Is it Keek?
It's
Okay.
a kick is the only one I.
All right, gotcha. And
Good
Cat
afternoon.
Kick will follow.
Okay. I'm here as a concerned citizen just about the idea of aesthetics trumping safety. And I know that aesthetics can be subjective, which is why I wanted to speak to some of the neighbors' opinions on the wall. I'm reading on behalf of their direct neighbor, in fact, the gentleman, the celebrity that they've mentioned, written by the celebrity's attorney. It says that I represent Mr. Shia LaBeouf, the direct next-door neighbor of Joe and Marie Picker. My client is in Canada filming and has requested that I write this letter in support of the Pickers case. Since Mr. LaBeouf moved to his residence on Deervale Drive, the paparazzi and fans have been a continual annoyance to him and the Pickers. The Pickers were concerned, rightfully so, for their safety and peace of mind. Mr. LaBeouf was forced to hire private security guards from time to time in order to control the flow of sightseers and the media. There are also occasional potentially violent stalkers monitored by law enforcement. Unfortunately for the Pickers, the photographers and alleged press have continually trespassed on the Pickers' property in order to claim a view into Mr. LaBeouf's backyard and photograph him and his guests through the Pickers' property. My client is in complete support of the application for their wall, and he is happy to have the extra lighting on the street as darkness gives cover to people lurking. The design is also very attractive and enhances the neighborhood and the street. In fact, there are many similar walls, fences, and gates all over the hills within a 2-mile radius. We respectfully request that the councilman approve the Pickers' application. Sincerely, Matthew H. Saver, attorney for Shia LaBeouf. And again, just in my own opinion, having been in the home, I just wanted to speak to the unique location. It is one of the only residences on the street that is well below street level, which makes it incredibly easy to simply look down on the residence prior to the wall being enacted. And I know the intentions of the owners were simply to provide safety for themselves, their family, and their pets, and hope to be active and contributing members to the community, not to be any type of disturbance. Thank you.
Thank you. Cat Kick is our next speaker, and then Fred Gaines will follow. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, and thank you for this opportunity to speak. I am here for the wall, and I just wanted to say that while there is a neighbor here to speak against it, there are dozens of neighbors who are for this wall. Today I will be reading a letter by Sean and Massey Maghim, and they're at 3939 Deervale Drive. To whom it may concern, my name is Sean Maghim, and my address is 3939 Deervale Drive, Sherman Oaks, California, 91403. My family and I moved to this neighborhood in March 2010. Our property is adjacent to 3951 Deervale Drive on the south side. The fence in question, in my opinion, has added quite a lot of definition to the otherwise metonymous look of the wall of that part of the street. It is pleasant to look at and to walk by. It also adds security to that area. I have had animals, domestic and wild, roam through my property. At one point, a dog ran head on into my house through an open sliding door on the front porch because there was no fence to keep him out. Most of all, I enjoy the light fixtures on the top of the fence, as they have illuminated that part of the street tremendously. In fact, I believe that the lighting has helped cutting down on potential property crime that may have developed due to the darkness of the street. Moreover, the lights on the top of the fence shine on my driveway, illuminating the front portion of my house, as I do not have lights there. I believe that the fence not only added to the security of the property, but has enhanced the look of that part of the street. It does not hurt anyone, nor does it obstruct anyone's view. In fact, the only view that it does obstruct is a direct view into a private home from the street. On a more personal note, we really enjoy having Joe and his wife as neighbors. They are pleasant people to know and deal with on every matter. They have always been more than willing to extend a helping hand to anyone who may need it. If I can be of any further assistance, please feel free to contact me. Sincerely, Sean and Massey Maghim. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and thank you for your patience earlier. Fred Gaines is our next speaker. After that is Elka Heitmeyer.
Thank you, Mr. President, honorable members. Fred Gaines of the law offices of Gaines and Stacy on behalf of Joe and Arit Picker. We're very appreciative of the motion brought by Councilman Koretz, seconded by Councilman Zine, to bring this matter before the council. We concur with the findings. We think that the file is replete with evidence that support findings of compatibility with the neighborhood. All of the surrounding neighbors signed in agreement with the application. We've provided photographs of 11 of the 12 surrounding properties that have over in height fences and walls. The uniqueness of the property, this wall actually runs along the side of this house. This house is, instead of facing directly to the street, it's the side of the house that faces the street. So without a wall along that side, you're looking into all the bedrooms and the bathrooms, not just the front of the house. And then the evidence of the nuisance at this site, multiple instances of paparazzi running onto the property to take photographs or attempt to take photographs into the next door neighbor property. There's been vandalism to the property, including to automobiles at the site that have been reported to the police. So with these findings and with the conditions of approval that have been laid out, which will require the wall to meet all the requirements, and especially with the compromise crafted by the council office, the councilman in this case came out to the site, viewed it himself, made recommendations that the wall be altered to include a more open look, more matching to other walls. We think that approval is appropriate. We greatly appreciate the time you've taken to hear the matter and ask for your support for the motion. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Elke Heitmeyer is our next speaker. After that is Harriet Diamond. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Elke Heitmeyer. Thank you so much for giving us a voice here. I've heard a lot of misstatements about what is going on in our neighborhood. This wall is totally out of character with what's going on in this street. If you looked at your online site, you can see all the pictures. I had hoped I have these for you here today. This is a green street. Even the overhead fences that are there are open. They're landscaped. We have a green hillside street there and not a street full of fences and walls like I've been hearing before. There was a beautiful green hedge that screened the house perfectly well. I have here a picture of Shia LaBeouf's house that you can see from this property. You cannot see anything. He has a high fence inside his property. The paparazzis have not been seen in over a year. That is so out of character. I have here a map of the city planning. So it is part of the zoning and planning's responsibility to watch the 3-foot setback that homeowners are supposed to observe because it's a city property, it's a street lights. I have here, this wall was built without permits. We have no idea of its structural integrity. In an earthquake, it can fall over and crush whatever is in front of it, and the city will be responsible for that. I have at least 25, my colleague is still stuck on the freeway, at least 25 signatures from people who live in the neighborhood, who live on Deervale, who are saying this wall is out of character. We want to keep our green neighborhood, and the city council should not override the positions of the zoning administrator and the planning commission, who are paid for, who are in charge of maintaining the integrity of our zoning and planning rules and regulations. It is unbelievable that city council has to, all these city employees, staffs, and everybody has to go through all of this stuff for a wall that was built illegally on city property and is over height. Excuse me.
The next speaker is Harriet Diamond. After that is Jim Marquez.
My name is Harriet Diamond, and I am a resident of Sherman Oaks. I feel that everything is irrelevant except that these people violated 2 codes. That is the only thing that should be discussed here. No one on that street objects to any walls, but you should try and build that wall according to the code. These people are new to the neighborhood. They have gotten permits before. They should have known and gone to get a permit, and they would have been told that you do not put your wall on the street. There may be other tall walls there, but there are no other walls that I know of that are sitting on the curb. I am a former resident of 3951 Deervale Drive, and that is the house we're talking about. I lived there for 16 years. We had a beautiful ficus hedge that absolutely no one could see through. After 16 years, I think I would know if someone could see through it. The only thing that needed to be done, if they were worried about someone getting onto their property, is to put a gate in, a sliding gate, a security gate. That would have done it. I myself lived there for 1 year with Shia being my neighbor. I had no problem with anybody going into my backyard because there's a gate. There's a very narrow stairway that goes downward below Shia's property, well below Shia's property. The only room that you could see into Shia's property was from the living room, and I informed Shia of that the week he moved in, and he proceeded to put up a nice, tasteful fence, and from then on, there's no way anyone could see into it. I believe, well, okay.
You can finish your sentence if you'd like.
I would just like to say one more thing. Mr. and Mrs. Picker, take down that wall.
Thank you. Jim Marquez is our next speaker. Is Jim Marquez here?
Good afternoon, Jim Marquez. Jim Marquez Planning and Design, 796 West 27th Street, San Pedro, California. Here to represent Orit and Joe Picker. We prepared a design that shows continuity with the precedent-setting case which was approved directly across the street at 3950 Deer Vale Drive. And accommodated the openings that the councilman mentioned to create the greenery effect that all the other new walls are being conditioned to have in this area. And I know it's too far for you, but this is what
you can put it down in front of you, but just so we don't block anybody's view, please.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you. The incorporation of this wall does provide the security and safety that the residents are looking for. Two, it does it in a fashion and a style that is consistent with the neighborhood, and this will allow us to move forward with the process of correcting the building without a permit, which the owners sorely need. Thank you very much.
That will close our public comment on this item. Mr. Koretz.
Yeah, just a couple points. I would point out again that even the people that spoke against this, their primary objection, even here, was the location of the wall. Once again, this is not in our purview here today. Also, I went there myself, looked over the side fence. You could get a great shot of the patio where Shia LaBeouf could be eating breakfast or whatever. You absolutely, when you trespass on their property, can get easy photographs of him. So the idea that there isn't a good view and that there isn't a reason to try and protect this property, I think, is also off. As far as the findings, I've already discussed them before, and I would again ask for an aye vote.
Okay. Any other members wishing to be heard? If not, we have the Ms. Perry.
Yeah, I just wanted. I'm sorry, Mr. Koretz. Could you walk us through that one more time, because we're having some difficulty understanding.
Okay, the findings that have to be made are that the zoning administrator erred or abused his discretion. And the areas in which I believe he erred are the following. One, by not recognizing the nature and character of the neighborhood where there are many overheight fences. City staff in this case acknowledged, quote, numerous over in height front yard fences and walls exist in the neighborhood. There are, as you've heard, the abutting neighbors were generally in support. Most of them signed a support letter and supported this request. The ZA didn't pay attention to that particularly. Most notably, in my view, the location of the wall as within the right-of-way was cited as a reason for denial. In fact, the zoning administrator said that he was leaning in favor of it, but then had to think about the location of the wall. This is not in the purview of planning and zoning. It's in the purview of public works and should not have been considered. And so that is a clear abuse of discretion. A previously approved overheight wall across the street was not considered due to its use as a retaining wall instead of as a privacy wall. And again, dealing with matters of aesthetics and appropriateness, the wall's function isn't relevant, shouldn't be used as a factor. And in fact, the changes in design that were recommended by the project planner would have made the wall in question almost exactly in appearance the same as the one across the street. And so for those reasons...
Excuse me, if we can have order in chambers. Go ahead, Mr. Ritz.
For those reasons, I ask for an aye vote. And again, once again, this is only a first step. It still needs to be approved by Building and Safety, and Public Works still needs to evaluate the appropriateness of the wall's location.
All right, any other members wishing to be heard? If not, we have the recommendation before us. Please open the roll. Please close the roll and tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
That is approved. Next item, please.
Item 30, called special for cards.
Okay, item number 30 is next. We'll take cards from the public on that. We'll go first to San Fernando Valley and Donna Pearman. Ms. Pearman, are you in Van Nuys? Okay. Looks like she's not there. Thank you. Matt Dowd is our next speaker then. Mr. Parks?
11, could I get number 12 reconsidered and continued for 1 week?
Yes, after we do this one. If you could please sit down, Mr. Dowd. Mr. Dowd is our next speaker.
Yes, thank you. One of my favorite topics, of course, the economy. Had to wait a while for this one, but let me tell you, see, the problem is that the city council and the state, they just keep trying to manufacture things out of thin air. Manufacturing, just trying to come up with jobs and think, oh yeah, let's get money from the federal government. And the real problem is just not getting out onto the street. And the budget, the pension fund is the prime example of that. So I really don't know what the solution is here, because, like I said earlier, I feel like I'm on the Titanic. The hole's already punched in the front of the ship. You know, we're listing. Europe is a bad storm coming out on the Atlantic, and we're here in the Titanic. You know, the country of Greece is holding the whole world ransom and wiping billions of dollars off of your stock portfolios. So, however we got to this point, I'm starting to think it's too late. So that's why I don't, you know, like, you might as well just vote, approve this. You know, see, you got all. As soon as I seen all these people out here, I thought it was a farmer's market when I first came up the other day. And but that's the sign. I think the vultures are circling, the rats are on the, you know, see, the warnings were years ago already, and I think the banking industry, they got a lot to answer for, because they've sold you all out, but you guys helped.
The next speaker is Zuma Dog.
Of the LA City Council meeting. Good morning, City Council. I'd like to talk about community redevelopment money, and we're talking about redevelopment. I'll read the item. It's very confusing. First of all, you know there's a problem because it says Speaker John Perez. The guy's totally shady. I say corrupt. I say he's under, I say that we got big problems with John Perez. So when you see his name right off the bat, be skeptical. And it says to close the budget deficit while creating jobs with anything that takes redevelopment funds. Okay, so there's the thing I look at. And if I could please have council's attention, because they're talking, and for
Sir,
a body
please come back to the item at hand.
I'm requesting for the council to pay attention to me, because they're not, and for a group of individuals that's under FBI investigation due to the fact of my public comments that brought them here, I think they should be paying
Sir,
real
could
good
you
close
please
attention
come back
right
to
now.
item 30? What is before us? We're listening.
Okay, can you turn your
And
volume
sir,
up?
in the back, if you'll please sit down, sir, so we can have order in the chambers.
I can't hear you.
I said, if you'll please come back to the item before us, item 30, the California Jobs Budget.
We've got redevelopment money that this is about. I'd like to say, make sure that the community redevelopment money makes it into the community and not into the hands of billionaire developers. For example, let's say Casa 101. I heard that the FBI is investigating redevelopment money for Casa 101 because Jose Huizar took community redevelopment money and said, it's not enough to redevelop the community. We need to enrich the minds of future storytellers. And so $150,000 of community redevelopment money to put on some flyers of a theater group, and then Facebook and Twitter. And then you didn't even do that. So here's my warning, because yes, the FBI is investigating for that and for Clark's Fund money. So when you have unit money in funds, do not put them in other unaccountable funds. And I love that members are smiling. Now here's the thing. You other council members facilitated, collaborated, orchestrated, and went along with Councilmember Huizar in what is being investigated. Those who went along and voted yes are in big trouble. You better stand up and be your own council members instead of backing up a mafia kingpin puppet.
Sir, that will close our public comment on item number 30. Please open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
That is approved. Next item, please.
Item 31, called special by Mr. Parks for Council District 11, and a substitute motion has been circulated.
Okay. Let's go ahead then with a substitute motion. If there's nobody wishing to be heard on that, let's go ahead and prepare.
To motion that's been circulated.
Yep. Let's go ahead and prepare the roll. On 31 is substituted. Close the roll and tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
That is approved. If we can reconsider 4 and 12, please. Please open the roll on 4 and on 12. Open the roll on reconsideration. Close the roll and tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Okay, that is reconsidered. Item 12, Mr. Parks is asked to continue for 1 week. Is that correct?
Yes.
That will take us to November 8th, which is the council recess. So is 2 weeks okay, Mr. Parks? Okay. We'll bring it back on the 15th of November. Item 4, we did have a public comment card that came in afterwards, and thank you for your patience. I'd like to ask Michelle McElroy to come forward. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Council. I'm coming because my property, which is located in item number 4, had an application for permit in 2004. Building and Safety reported that the carport that we built at that time was not in compliance and ordered me to remove it. It was removed in 2006. Once that happened, the paperwork was done, and I heard nothing else back from Building and Safety until 2009. I spoke again with staff at that time, and they assured me that everything was taken care of. On September 2011, I received a notice of lien for $403. I attempted to reach Building and Safety staff numerous times, and they didn't receive any. They did not contact me again. Today in Chambers, I did talk to Mr. Charles Kay, and he instructed me to ask that this be opened up again. And what I'm asking is that item 4 be removed for lien and direct staff to communicate with me, the homeowner. The carport has been removed now since 2006. We have pictures of it. It's up for rent, and I have proof that it's been gone, and I've talked to staff in 2009 who also confirmed that we were in compliance. So I'm asking that council remove item 4 from a lien and direct your staff at Building and Safety to work with me to resolve this matter.
Thank you. We don't have a council member in the 15th district right now, but we do have a CLA who is working on that. So what we'll do is hold this on the desk and see if we can get you in contact and see if there's anything that can be done to address the situation for you. Okay. So just hold on, and I'll see if we can get the acting council member through the CLA's office to come talk to you. Okay. Next item called special, please.
Item 32, called special for cards.
All right. Sorry. Item 32, and we have the first speaker is Donna Pearman and Van Nuys, who I believe left. That's the only speaker. So with that, we'll go ahead and prepare the roll and tabulate the. Oh, sorry. You want to talk about it? It was called special just for cards. Item 32.
We need the city attorney to come and advise us on this.
Okay. So before we take a vote, we'll have Mr. Parks invite forward city attorney.
Colleagues, this is a matter in which we've been asked by the Expo Line and the MTA to join in on a amicus brief that deals with a lawsuit about Phase 2 of the Expo Line And so today we were asking the city attorney to come advise us what is the process, how we can be involved, and whether we need a draft or a ordinance, or what do we need to be a part of this.
Sure. Pete Echeverria and Tim McWilliams from the City Attorney's Office. The case is the case of Neighbors for Smart Rail versus Exposition Metro Line Construction Authority. And it is basically a challenge to the EIR that was prepared for the extension of the line on the grounds that the baseline that was used for evaluating the impacts on traffic, air quality, climate change, and so on was an inappropriate and illegal baseline. There are cases that the plaintiffs are relying on, notably one that came out of Sunnyvale, that in which the Court of Appeal indicated that the baseline was required to be the current conditions. However, there are facts in this situation that are different from the Sunnyvale case, and I think there is a strong argument for the trial court having approved the EIR that was utilized, and a strong argument for countering the appeal that was taken by the plaintiffs in this case. The League of California Cities has reviewed this case, and the Legal Advocacy Committee that I sit on has voted to join the amicus brief that is being prepared by Cox Castle on behalf of the Counties Association in California, CSAC. So there's already been a determination that this is an area of the law that is of great significance to cities, and that cities in their position should be heard through the Cox Castle brief. We've been in contact with the attorneys writing the Cox Castle brief. Initially, they weren't sure that they would be able to add the City of Los Angeles name to it. I think that can be worked out. I've spoken with the General Counsel for the League of California Cities, and he assures me that there is no policy that precludes that. So if there's an inclination on the part of counsel to join that brief, which I believe would be the appropriate action to take, then all that it would take would be a motion approving joining that brief and the majority vote of the council. I believe that because of the way the matter was agendized, that motion and the whole matter would be continued to Friday, and the final vote taken then on the motion. But that's the course to follow. Okay. If you have more questions about the details of the case, Mr. McWilliams would be able to answer them.
Colleagues, if there's no questions, I'd just like to make a motion that we continue this to Friday, and we change the wording on this motion to direct the city attorney to draft the brief, and that
join
and join the amicus issue. And so with that, we'd have it properly agendized for Friday, and then we can vote on that this amended motion.
Thank you.
Okay. Any other members wishing to be heard? Okay. If not, let's prepare the roll and tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Okay, that is approved. Thank you. Next item, please.
Item 37, called Special for Cards, also revised ordinance has been circulated.
All right. We'll take the cards first. We have first Sharon Brewer in Van Nuys. If we can go to Van Nuys. Ms. Brewer there.
Yes.
Good afternoon.
I wanted to speak on number 37, but also there's a problem. You end up going and having a revised ordinance or any kind of change into what the agenda item is, and we out here in Van Nuys have no clue what you're talking about. So it makes it kind of hard to actually keep up. But anyway, I'll just go. This is about relative to authorizing Department of Animal Services to conduct license hearings even in the absence of a valid dog license, and to establish more definite barking, dog noise, and distance criteria. I find it a little confusing that you're going to conduct license hearings even in the absence of a valid dog license, because you would be having the hearing because of not having a license. What I want to know is, one, what were the penalties or fines before? How are you going to make sure the public is aware of these penalties of $250, $500, and $1,000, unless that got changed, before going into effect? Also, I just wanted to go and make a comment that this talks about valid dog licenses, and I'm just curious as to when there's an event at a park where dogs are going to be, that the Animal Services is not there to make sure that the dogs have their licenses on and are fixed, or that event promoters do not have to go and put that information in their advertising, so that you don't have dogs coming that have no tags, haven't been fixed at a big event, which happened this past Sunday, and I observed a lot of dogs without their tags, and one that at least wasn't fixed. Thank you.
Thank you. We have one more speaker card, Matt Dowd. Is he in chambers? I think he is left, so we'll go ahead and close that public comment. And our first speaker is Mr. Alacon. Oh, sorry, Mr. Englander came from committee, and then we'll go to Mr. Alacon.
Thank you. Colleagues, this is it's a minor change in Section 7. It's simply a language change. We've actually already voted on this, but the subsections A and B of Section 53.63, that's the actual language change on this. That's all that was amended, was to say the first paragraph in Sections A and B of Section 53.63 of the Los Angeles Municipal Code are amended to read as follows. That was the entire change. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Alacon.
Yes, Council members, I rise in support of the motion. However, I would like to add a friendly amendment to ensure that the people in the general public really know about this program before we start enforcing it. So my friendly amendment would be to develop a marketing strategy to ensure that the public is well informed about this subject, and specifically to include a notice in a future DWP bill. But I think there may be other marketing methods that could be used. So the motion is to develop a marketing program and specifically to use the DWP billing process to do the community notification.
Okay. There's a second from Mr. Englander.
Yeah.
There's no objection. That'll be friendly.
And just for clarity, that's amending the item, not the ordinance.
Correct. The item. All right. We'll prepare the roll as amended and tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
That is approved. Next item, please.
Item 38, call special by Councilman Reyes.
Mr. Reyes.
Thank you, Council President. We can take 38, 39 together?
Yeah, let's take them together.
Thank you, colleagues. I just wanted to bring this to your attention and thank you for your support throughout the process with the River Corridor. But this item is giving DOT the authority to apply for monies that, if awarded, will help complete the LA River Bikeway Network project that will link downtown Los Angeles to the San Fernando Valley as well as Long Beach. This will continue the whole revitalization of River Plan. It begins to connect the bike master plan to a major central system, if you will, that allows bikes to travel without having to conflict with automobiles. The plan itself will, again, give us another layer of incentive to keep pushing the master bike plan throughout the city. I believe we're applying for $13 million with a local match of $5 million. It's already been designated by Proposition R. I want to thank my colleagues, Papa Kokorian, who was with me in his district on the public hearing with the state officials to talk about the river plan and what it will do. But this opportunity also arises in that major construction will be felt in Councilmember Zion's district in terms of structural changes in Councilmember Kokorian's district. And Councilmember Labange will also be benefiting from this, because we're going to be strengthening that linkage that goes throughout the river. So the path will travel through Griffith Park, Canoga Park. The improvements will be not only along the river, but to streets that connect to the river. Also, we're looking at connectivity to the downtown area that also will connect to the river. So we have to overcome these challenges with the freeways that separate us from connecting to our neighborhoods. It'll be essentially allowing us to create access points that didn't exist before. And again, it takes us to another, we're going to put this point of effectiveness in changing the culture and how we look at transportation in the city and giving us an option other than the automobile. So you can imagine us using our bikes, connecting to the rail station or adjacent to the river, riding along the river, getting near a station, and getting to our businesses and our residencies. So thank you, Council President, for allowing me to elaborate a little bit on this. Sometimes the departments and our our district is doing all this work, we apply for these funds, and I just want to make sure that we can celebrate this opportunity should we get that grant.
Thank you, and you have inspired 2 other members to speak as well, so don't worry, it's our pleasure, Mr. Reyes. Mr. Zine is our next speaker, and then Mr. Labange. And you know this is not motorized bicycles, Mr. Zine. It's
Thank you. No, I have a motorized, but I also have a regular foot-propelled, a couple of those. But I want to commend you.
You got to dust it off.
You're taking my time, Mr. Garcetti. Thank you. But in all seriousness, Councilman Reyes has spent, at least I know, 10 years putting these programs together along the other river. It'll be so nice to take a bicycle and ride along there and not worry about the Ventura Freeway traffic, which takes about 1 hour and 45 minutes to 2 hours to get from my residence to City Hall. That commute is extensive, and the traffic is getting worse. Even though they say unemployment's up, I don't know where all the cars are coming from in the morning. But that'll be a wonderful opportunity to go in the San Fernando Valley and get on that and go all the way down to Long Beach. It's fantastic. I know that we developed in my district, Van Alden and Van Owen. We started the first leg of that, and hopefully these funds will come forward, and your vision for the Living River will come about with the activity along it, including the bike path. But just imagine getting on a bicycle in the San Fernando Valley and traveling all the way down. I mean, a vision that people say, well, maybe someday. You're making it happen. So I totally, completely support this. I know Mr. Labange rides his bicycle up in Griffith Park and other areas. I am a bicycle rider and a motorcycle rider, but when you get on the 2 wheels, it's a whole different environment. And the health that you can receive from riding that bicycle, that 2-wheel bicycle, it's fantastic. So, Mr. Reyes, congratulations. Thank you. And hopefully these dollars will come forward. But we have started in the Valley at Van Owen and Van Alden, and thanks to your help for making this start. And it'll continue, hopefully, into the future, that we'll be able to use more bicycle and avoid the great commutes and traffic, and let the folks who want to fight traffic fight it. But we'll have a viable option to get us off the roadway onto something positive. So, again, thank you. Great project. Thank you very much.
Mr. Labange.
Yeah, thank you, Dennis. From the Bell and Calabasas Creek, where the rivers form, all these are pieces put together. I just wanted to stand up strong. There are some areas that are challenged due to built infrastructure or split properties, such as the CVS lot, the Radford lot, but not the Universal lot. And we want to make sure that this bikeway is adjacent to the Los Angeles River, from Barham Boulevard to Lankershim, and at some point we'll use that. And also I want to say, too, for the Department of Transportation, look at the Tujunga Wash. Look at a number of the washes, the Pacoima Wash, that are off the main mother river, the Los Angeles River, and connect as much as you can. But especially at Universal, it's very important, because they had a plan to divert it up a hill, and I'm for climbing hills, but not for riding the bikes up the hills. Keep it on the river.
Thank you very much, Mr. Labange. Mr. Krikorian.
Thank you, Mr. President. I just want to rise to thank Mr. Reyes for his incredible leadership on the revitalization of the LA River. When I was about 10 years old, one of the first issues of public policy that caught my attention and that got me engaged was the possibility of building bike paths along the LA River. I kid you not. And so here we are, a few years later, actually making that happen. And the progress that we've made to date so far is really pretty remarkable. There have been times when I've been driving home on the 5, stuck in traffic, and I see people that I know who work in City Hall passing me on the LA River Bikeway. And when we have that complete connectivity to connect all the way from the distant parts of the San Fernando Valley all the way down to downtown and beyond, this is really going to be a tremendous, not only transportation, but recreation and aesthetic resource for the city of Los Angeles. And we've done a lot. When we rebuilt the Colfax Bridge in Studio City, we made sure to build it in a way that would accommodate the continuing development of these bike paths. There's more to do. I think this Tiger Grant's a big step in the right direction. And Mr. Reyes, I just want to tip my hat to you and thank you for all that you've done in this area.
Thank you, Mr. Reyes.
You know, the president last week put together a program where he shared with the National League of Cities a whole range of federal grants, federal programs to create jobs. The Tiger comes from the Department of Transportation's programs, a national bank. There's a whole range of of federal dollars that we need to support, and this Tiger Grant is a reflection of an array of federal funds that are right now in the hopper. Hopefully those who are listening can call their Congress members and let them know that we need to get people back to work and support the Jobs Act that the President right now is putting on the table, but is part of these programs that allows us to build out this infrastructure. So I know there will be some press conferences on this. I know it's coming in the pipeline, and we'll elaborate, but I want to just seize the moment to begin that chant about supporting the President and getting a message out to the Congress to support these kinds of federal dollars. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Mr. Reyes. Thanks for your leadership. Let's go ahead and prepare the roll on both items. We had a card on 39, but Dr. Williams has left, so we'll go ahead and close the public hearing. Please prepare the roll and tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
That is approved. Item 4, we're going to continue for 30 days and ask the Building and Safety report back on that case to Council. And thank you for your patience today, Madam, on that item. Item 48, we have 2 cards. Dr. Williams and Matt Dowd have both left. Any members wishing to be heard on 48? Seeing none, let's prepare the roll and tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
That is approved. Mr. Yes, Weezer.
We could reconsider item 2 for 2 weeks and continue it for 2 weeks. We have some questions by some of the property owners who are raising those questions, building and safety.
Okay, let's go ahead and open the roll on reconsideration of item 2. Close the roll and tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
And if there's no objection, we'll continue that till November 15th, 2 weeks from today. Thank you. Next order of business.
Council has motions for posting and referral.
Those are posted and referred.
There are excuses on the desk. Councilmember Perry requests to be excused on November 15th for city business. A motion is required.
Okay. What does that take us down to on that day?
10 members after 11 a.m.
10 members after 11 o'clock? Okay. All right. Colleagues, just in terms of on the attendance for that, we'll go ahead and move that request, but we want to make sure we're going to try to keep at least 11-member cushion for all days, if not 12. So we'll look at who's excused and see if we can't ensure that we have enough to finish our business for that day. But that excuse is granted. Next excuse.
Council President Garcetti requests to be excused on December 2nd and to arrive at 11:30 on December 6th for personal business. A motion is required.
Okay. What number? Mr. Zion will make that motion. That takes us down on those days to how much?
To 11 members on December 2nd and 11 members until 11:30 on December 6th.
Okay. We'll go ahead and grant those excuses.
And Councilmember Koretz requests to leave at 11:30 on December 16th for city business. A motion is required.
Okay. And that takes us down to how many?
11 members after 11:30.
Okay. I'll move that then. And without objection, that will be approved. Okay.
That clears the desk.
All right. Any announcements, colleagues? Mr. Parks?
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to invite the community to a meeting with Chief Beck on November the 2nd at 5 p.m. at Bethel AME Church at 7900 South Western. Chief Beck and the Grim Sleeper Task Force is going to be there to advise the public of new developments in this case. The media has reported there's a possibility of identifying another 6 victims, which brings that total up to 16. But in July the 10th last year, the police department identified 180 photographs of unknown women and put it on display. They have now reduced that number to a final 48. And unfortunately, as they reduce that number, they find new victims. They want to brief the community, ask for community support, and the task force will be there to answer any questions. And that's November 2nd, 5 p.m. at Bethel AME Church, 7900 South Western in LA 90047.
Okay, Mr. Krikorian, do you have an announcement? Did you have announcements?
I do.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. President. Members, when I was a member of the state legislature, I created a high school student film festival. And when I joined the council, that festival earlier this year had its first citywide entrance, and we had over 100 submissions from high school students throughout the city and many of your districts. It was a tremendous success, and I'm pleased to announce that we're coming back this year with a countywide student film festival, and applications are now being accepted. The deadline for submissions is January 20th, and any high school student in any of your districts who's interested in participating in it can go to LASMF, that stands for LA Student Media Festival, .lacity.org. The actual festival will take place on March 10th, 2012 at the El Portal Theater in the NoHo Arts District. It really is a tremendous thing to see the work that some of these high school students can produce in the areas of animation, comedy, commercials, drama, narrative drama, documentaries, newscasts, and in other areas. They really do great work, and I would encourage all of you to pass this on to the schools in your district and make sure that we get a robust response, because this is an opportunity for them to really launch what could be a promising career in the entertainment industry.
Thank you, Mr. Corrin. Mr. Zion and then Ms. Perry.
I just want to acknowledge the officers. Last night I worked my LAPD reserve assignment, Hollywood Division, Hollywood Boulevard. Mr. Garcetti, Mr. Labange, I see both you have that area. Captain Gramala, B. Gramala, she put together an assembly of officers from West Bureau, Metropolitan Division, motorcycle officers, mounted unit. It was fantastic deployment and worked in cooperation with the LA County Sheriff's Department. There were some issues, but it was well led by the captain of Hollywood Division, who's done that many, many years. A lot of reserve officers worked the deployment. So I just want to give a positive comment out to the LAPD officers and the LA County Sheriff's Department who are working hand in hand to maintain an orderly environment along Hollywood Boulevard. They don't have the parade, they don't have the activities of West Hollywood, but it turns into kind of a hectic environment. So the LAPD did a tremendous job, along with the Sheriff's Department, to police the area and to keep it calm and orderly as much as possible. So to the officers of West Bureau and all the other personnel involved, congratulations for a fine job last night. I got home at 4 a.m. And up at 7, and here I am ready to go to sleep. But thank you very much.
So if people saw you on Halloween in a police costume, that was actually your real uniform?
That is a great costume. I said, well, thank you very much.
Thank you. Ms. Perry, then Mr. Reyes.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. I want to announce a fundraiser for Officer Tapia, who is from Central Division, and she recently lost her husband, father to her 4 children, in a traffic accident while visiting in Mexico. This fundraiser is to help pay for unexpected expenses that she has had to incur to bring her husband's body back to the United States. It is November the 2nd at the rear of Central Division on the Maple Street side. It will be from 10 a.m. in the morning until 5 p.m. in the afternoon. If you have any questions, you can call Sergeant Mariscal at 213-972-1889 or Officer Mellinger at 213-972-1890. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Reyes.
Thank you, Council President. I just wanted to invite my colleagues. There are projects that we have out there in our respective districts that are right now at a pivotal place. If with federal funding we can close those gaps and create jobs, now is the time to articulate and amplify those examples. I'm hoping and working with the Council President and Intergovernmental Affairs will have the ability to pronounce that, perhaps have a press conference and discuss these possibilities and actually look at how we can motivate the voting public, more importantly our Congress members, to support the Jobs Act bill. That's the main message I got back from Washington, D.C. this past week, and they're asking, now is the time to push forth and have our voting public and press upon our Congress members to vote for the Jobs Act, because it does create jobs, expands the revenue base, and addresses the cutbacks that we're right now feeling because of the lack of this revenue. And these grants can go a long way in helping us out in visualizing and implementing these projects in a manner that's beneficial to the city. So I just want to make that statement. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, and thank you, Councilmember Reyes, for representing us all in Washington last week with the White House and other discussions you had. We appreciate that. Are there announcements, colleagues? If not, do we have any adjourning motions? Can I ask everybody in council chambers to please rise for our adjourning motions? If I can respectfully ask everybody to rise, please, in chambers for those who have passed as we do our adjourning motions.
Respectfully rise.
Out of respect Sir, if I could ask you to please rise out of respect for those who have passed, just to stand. Sir, could you please rise? Folks who have passed away, we are speaking about folks who have passed away here today, and we always adjourn the council in memory. If I could ask for your respect to those folks who have died. Our first one is Mr. Zahn.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm joined by Charles Feldman, who's a reporter at our local station, KNX News Radio. His mom passed away October 26th. Lenore Feldman Paul, the mother of KNX investigative reporter Charles Feldman, died in her sleep last week in Brooklyn, New York, nursing home after a long illness. She was 89 years old. Born in Brooklyn, New York, February 9th, 1922, and died October 26th. Lived through the Great Depression and World War II, marrying her teenage sweetheart just as the war began. For several years, while he was stationed at places around the globe, in the Army as an MP, they exchanged love letters, telegrams, and, when they were able, in-person visits. They had 2 children, Martin and his younger brother, Charles. Mrs. Paul's first husband, Charles, died back in '61 at the age of 42. While she had been a housewife and mother in the years leading up to her husband Joseph's death, she was pushed into the workforce for decades after her husband's death in order to help raise her 2 sons. She worked as a bookkeeper for a Manhattan firm until she retired. Her eldest son Martin died in 1975 at the age of 27, leaving son Charles, who's with us this morning, as her only survivor. While she went on to marry 2 more times, outliving them all, she got her long-time wish and was laid to rest last Friday next to her husband and Charles' dad in Long Island, New York. They were united after half a century. Leon Feldman Paul was a devoted wife, loving mother who was always there when her sons needed her the most. There was nothing she would not do for them. Nothing, that is, except leave the comfort of her Brooklyn home to live in Los Angeles, where Charles has resided and worked first for CNN and currently KNX News Radio since 1995. She visited and often talked about how, if she were younger, she would have preferred living in a place such as Los Angeles rather than New York because of the weather. But her many long friends were in Brooklyn, and she stayed near them until the end. She always loved the birthday cards that Charles would send to her each year. He was looking forward to sending one for her 90th birthday that would have been this coming February. Instead, Charles picked out the best birthday card he could find and left it clutched in his mother's hands to be held by her for eternity. May she rest in peace. And a couple comments from her son, Charles.
I know most of you, and have had the opportunity to, from time to time, grill you on the air occasionally. But what I'd like to do now is thank you all from the bottom of my heart for a very lovely gesture on the behalf of my mother, and I want to thank especially Councilman Dennis Zine. I know my mother would be extremely proud, so on her behalf, thank you.
Thank you, and we'll put all members on that. My thoughts are with you. Thank you very much. Ms. Perry.
I want to thank you, Mr. President. I want to adjourn in memory of Irae Eusta Edwards, who was born in Cambridge, Massachusetts, and came to California in the early 1970s. She was a gifted seamstress and made gowns and suits and formal attire for her neighbors and her friends, but she always wanted to do more. So she became a real estate broker and a notary public. She also opened her own restaurant, and it was called Donnell's, where she served a very good, delicious Caribbean cuisine. She devoted her life to becoming a faithful member of the Church of Greater Works. She also had a passion for helping people who were homeless, and she often brought folks home and sheltered, fed them, and then included them as part of her church family. She has an astonishing number of relatives. She's got 2 sons, John Henry and Thurman Rennell. She has a daughter, Irae Dolores, her sister, Metta A. Crawford, a sister-in-law, Diana, son-in-law, Judge Reginald Dunn, 2 daughters-in-law, Shirley Edwards and Vermille Edwards. She's got 4 grandchildren. She has 9 great-grandchildren and a huge extended family of nieces and nephews, and she will be deeply missed.
Thank you. Mr. Labange.
Yes, members, I ask we adjourn to member Maury Sage, who was the owner-operator of the Universal Nissan. He came to this country and fled the challenges during World War II. At a young age, he was a young salesman, and he had the first Datsun dealership. I'm sure many of you who know the Universal City Nissan and what he meant to the San Fernando Valley. Morris Sage. Also, I ask we adjourn to members for the 15th District of a much-loved Thelma Klein, who was married to Herman Klein recently in 1997, but she was the love of his life, and she will be sorely missed. She's also survived by her brother Richard Hill and a host of nieces, nephews, and relatives. Also, I ask we adjourn to memory of Rhoda Mae Adamson Dallas, the family which donated the land to which Pepperdine University was built in Malibu. They owned a land grant dating back to the 1890s of the Santa Monica Mountains, which covered the area where Pepperdine was relocated from Los Angeles in 1972. She was much loved. She's survived by her great-granddaughter, as well as other great-grandchildren and 15 great-great-grandchildren. I ask we adjourn in memory of Rhoda Mae Adamson Dallas.
Thank you. Mr. Cardenas.
Thank you very much. So with great sadness, we announced the passing of Maria Torres. She passed away on Sunday, October 23rd, 2011, and she was born on August 15th, 1929. She passed away from liver failure, and the most notable attributes of her is she's been a generous and loving wife, mother, sister, grandmother, and great-grandmother who was always happy, funny, and willing to help anyone in need. She was also very proud of being from Jalisco, Mexico, and loved music and spending time with her family. She's survived by Jose Luis Torres, Graciela Rodriguez, Rafael Torres, Ramon Torres, Baudelio Torres Jr., Ana Torres, Olivia Rosales, Lupe Medina, and also some personal friends of mine, Alex Medina, who is now a firefighter with the City of Los Angeles, and also Claudia Torres de la Rocha, who's a tremendous photographer. She's also survived by over 25 grandchildren and 14 great-grandchildren. May she rest in peace.
Thank you. We'll add Mr. Alarcon to that as a seconder. Any other adjourning motions, colleagues? Mr. Alarcon.
Yes, I'd like to adjourn, colleagues, in the name of Barney Oldfield. He was born on October 30th, 1940 in East Los Angeles. He was a lifelong resident of the City of Los Angeles. And in 1987, he had a life-changing experience where he became a member of a 12-step program which he credited with his success in overcoming an addiction to alcohol. Barney, shortly after beginning his new life, met Anjanai Barakal, also in recovery, and they eventually got married. Together they regularly helped people struggling with substance abuse and took them to recovery centers. They could always find a place for men, but for the women, they struggled to find places, especially in the San Fernando Valley. They recognized there was a void to be filled and said to each other, someone should open a recovery home for women. So in 1991, Barney and his wife opened Oasis Women's Recovery Community, a licensed alcohol and drug treatment center with 16 beds for women located in Sylmar that has helped hundreds of women become productive, contributing members of society and helped women reunify with their families. Barney made sure Oasis was involved in the community with service projects and participation in the Sylmar Chamber of Commerce. He was a big guy with a giving heart and was always willing to share his time. He was a story of true inspiration, and of course he always had a joke. He died while at Holy Cross Hospital in Mission Hills just 1 week before his 71st birthday. He is survived by one daughter and his wife, Anajai. He will truly be missed by so many, especially those in the Sylmar community and the recovery community who have learned from his life experience.
Thank you very much. Any other adjourning motions? If not, Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll? We'll next be in session tomorrow. That'll be November 2nd, Wednesday at 10 a.m. Thank you, everybody. This meeting of the Los Angeles City Council is adjourned. Courage.